Hey everyone, Matthew LaCroix here, sitting down with a very important person and someone that's long overdue for being on my channel to explain his incredible story and really explain his part in my company, Ionis Legacy, and all the expeditions. Of course, we just got back from Turkey. His name is Martin Yeung. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing well, Matt. It's a privilege and it's a pleasure to be here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, it really is a pleasure, my friend. I couldn't say that more. I want to just give a little background on you, Martin, before we get into your story, and then also talk about Turkey and all of the future plans, because a lot of the success and a lot of the things that I'm able to do are because of you. And so I want the audience to really understand that Martin is not only a very important part of my company and as well as all the expeditions in the documentary, but he's a dear friend. He's also like an extended family. And Martin has an absolutely incredible story that I want to introduce a little of, and then he can talk about it, and we can get into some very cool aspects and some experiences and different things that we shared. So Martin Yeung he's the president and CEO of MSY Holdings Corporation, which is out in the Philippines, and it's quite an impressive company that deals with a lot of development and a lot of different organizations throughout the Philippines. And it's something that, he can discuss and his route to getting there and the importance of that. But Martin also, among many, many other things that we'll get into, he is a very, very cool guy. That's really the only thing I could say in the best way possible is that he owns his own 5-star resort called Candaya Resort, where Cebu is, the northern end of the island. Incredible place. I haven't been to yet, but at some point I would love to. And as I mentioned, he's an important board member on Ionis Legacy, my company, and he's a very important part of the Ionis team. And so, Martin, could you tell people a little bit about yourself and your story and how we got involved in everything that we've done?
Sure. Well, thanks for the introduction, Matt. Like I said, firstly, it's really profound to be here, to be honest. I mean, never would I've expected to actually be on a podcast, especially your podcast, someone who I've always admired, someone who I truly find is a true genius in
Thank you,
in
Martin.
the field. It's important. It's important that people know that. Anyhow, who am I? I'm just a nobody, to be honest. Okay, to be honest, I am just a businessman. I'm just a regular Joe, born and raised in Hong Kong, but now living out of the Philippines. My father is from Hong Kong. My mother's from Cebu, so I'm a proud Honky from Hong Kong, and I'm also a proud Cebuano from the Philippines. So half and half, the best of both worlds.
How did your whole story with your father and with MSY Holdings and where you got started in the world, like the people would probably be fascinated about that story?
Being blessed and realizing that you're blessed is the most important thing, right? It's about being humble to what you have. I always say that we're all equal in this world, right? That everybody from different countries with a different skin color, different status, different wealth, we're all equal here, right? We're all human, but not every man made equal. And what I mean by that is that, some people might be taller, some people might be shorter, some people might be smarter, right? Some people might be born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Some people might not. But regardless of what it is that, we should always treat people with kindness and goodness. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. So for me, yes, I was actually privileged to be born with a silver spoon in my mouth, so to speak. I have a wonderful family unit. My father, my mom, they're my life, right? I have 2 sisters. They raised me, gave me everything. The most beautiful life I can actually ever imagine, just because they were good people. One day when you get to meet my parents, you will see that my dad is just naturally good.
I'm looking
My
forward to
mom,
it.
yeah, my mom is also just naturally good. And it's rare in this world to see naturally good people. There's a lot of people that say that they're good or they do good. But then sometimes you just know, right? When you see someone, when you meet someone, just like when we met for the first time, Matt, I was like, stand-up guy, even though we spoke over the phone, and even the other people that we've met through the expedition, but we'll get to that later. Being in a position that I am in now, it still took work. I had to prove myself. And I think that's a very Asian type of mentality, especially Chinese in Hong Kong. My father, again, with 50 cents in his pocket, he was able to make this business become the business that it is today.
Yeah.
But through his common sense, I always, he is my mentor. I learned everything from him. The glory doesn't go to me. Whatever I do, whatever I establish, or whatever I can achieve now, it is through the teachings of my father and my mother and everybody, really. I mean, I always call myself a student of life. You just don't stop learning. The day that you believe that you know everything is basically pride. It's something that I've realized that in this world, drop the ego and drop the pride, but it doesn't mean that you can't be confident, right? You can be confident when you know you're good. Acta non verba, action not words, right? So to be good, just do it. You don't need people to know what you do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the principles in my life that I've really been following. Yeah, so basically, I grew up in Hong Kong, lived there my whole life. I lived in London for a couple of years. I live with my sisters there, my two loving, beautiful sisters, Joelle and Carla. Shout out to them.
In
Then I was in
California, you went to
Pepperdine.
school, right? Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. I went to Malibu. I was in Malibu, Pepperdine. What an experience. What can I say? I love the US. Pepperdine, you learn a lot, obviously in school, but I guess what you really learn there is growing up, right? So I was,
Yeah.
17, 18, and then I was there for 4 years. I had great teachers, and it's a born again Christian school. And then from there, after graduating, I came back and I went straight to the family business. And it's interesting because when I came back, I was 22 or something, I was still really, really young. At that time, I really felt I knew it all, right? So obviously living in London and living in the US, I came back with, I guess a little bit of arrogance, to be honest, right? That I felt like I knew everything. So the moment I came back and started working for my father, he immediately saw it. And to make a long story short, he's like, with that attitude, you think you're ever going to work in this company or even run this company? You know what he actually told me? Over my dead body. That's exactly what he said
Wow.
in a way that really kind of motivated me, right? So what he did was he put me to literally the paper job, the mail room. He's like, I'm your father. I'm always going to be your father. So you'll always be taken care of. But then, you have no place to run this company, especially with that type of attitude.
Wow.
So it
So
took,
you started
yeah,
from the bottom of a massive,
oh
massive
yeah,
company
oh yeah,
where
oh yeah.
where
And it's,
you instead of being given the keys, you had to start from the very lowest level possible.
yes, exactly. And to be honest, I deserved it. So back then, a 22-year-old that I don't really have much responsibilities, thinking that, I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth, thinking that I'd come back and run the business immediately. What a rude awakening, but in a good way, right? Because that's perhaps what really changed me to swallow that, to swallow my pride. So there was a moment in time, to be honest, right, that me and my dad, we hardly spoke because we'd always be arguing, right? Because I always felt entitled. That's probably one of the key words. I felt entitled.
Yeah.
He humbled me. You know what I'm saying? Just by saying that, what does entitlement mean? Yeah, I'll take care of you as your father. That's his responsibility. But that, you'll never go anywhere with it, with pride and entitlement, all these things. And then the moment I realized, right, that I got no place to go, I can either, you know, be full of pride and say, you know what, I'm going to quit and then, make my own way and find my own job. Yes, I could do that. And the thought did cross my mind, a couple of times. Or, just be smart about it and say, my dad is a genius. He made all of this work. And then I've lived such a privileged life. What am I doing, dummy? Talking to myself, right? I was like, what an idiot, right? If I'm allowed to say that, excuse my language. Then slowly, it took time to swallow that pride. It wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy. I realized, but now looking back at it, it was the best thing that could ever have happened in my life because it's going along with the teachings of my mom, right? Humility is really the biggest lesson that I learned throughout this entire experience, right? So to
Yeah.
make a long story short, yeah. So immediately that moment when I realized that, drop the pride, right? Just learn. You got the best teacher in front of you, your dad, right? That has experience, that has the knowledge, that has the know-how. I always call him genius. And you see, when I call people geniuses, they really are. I really mean it. People that know their stuff, right? And my dad is also street smart, that he wasn't privileged, that he couldn't afford to go to college and stuff like that. You wouldn't believe this story. His story is a whole nother level of humble beginnings to I guess, living a privileged life, but through hard work. He is the epitome of hard work, my dad. So respect to him. I mean, salute every single day. Every time I think of him, when I speak to him, he's always there. Despite obviously being retired, I'll always consult him with anything, any decisions that I make. It would just be the smart thing to do in general, right? You know, my mind plus his mind, and then just discussing things. You know, it's a powerful combination, right? So from the mailroom, learning how to file papers and how to deliver papers. Yes, it was a very, very humiliating type of job. But then I realized, you know what? Suck it up, right? Just suck it up, learn, right? Make your own way, you know? And so what I did was I, of course, right, naturally befriended everybody. I was like, okay, for me, the only way to get out of the mailroom is to prove myself, right? There's no point talking the talk. I can always just say that, yeah, I did it. But it's better, let me just prove it, not say a word, let the staff see me as how I perform. I did the best of my ability. So I became the best in the mailroom, right? Always on time, filing everything perfectly, right? Going there sometimes even earlier. And then from there, yeah, I made it to the top. And then from there, we were actually in the diamond business, by the way. This was how it all started. My dad's been in the diamond business for 50 years. And Hong Kong at the time was a huge opportunity. So my dad saw it and then he grabbed it. So anyway, so from the mail room was then the assorting room. So those that actually know the diamond business will, assorting is actually, yeah, it is the heart, but it's one of the most, tiring, but important jobs because you're sorting through, you know, thousands of stones, loose stones,
Yeah.
and then from there, yes, the same thing. I became the best assorter, learning every single diamond, every single cut, learning it just from heart by just assorting nonstop, overtiming and doing whatever had to be done to get things done, to prove myself. And then from there, I became the best at that. And then from there, I went to sales. And I think it was sales where I was really able to shine because using again the knowledge that I got from my father, also how my mom, I observe, right? Because observation is the key to learning, to observe and to absorb, to learn. So everything that you see, when I say that a student of life, you can learn from everybody. It doesn't matter that the person doesn't have to be a scientist or a PhD or a doctor. I mean, I learn things from anybody, right? Even the person that's sweeping the corridors in the building, certain things that they might know that I don't know. And when I learn, I always say, wow, I learn a new thing, you see? And I always appreciate that because knowledge is power when you really get to know it, right? So then from sales, I'm interacting with people. And then of course, just again, by being blessed, was able to make really good sales and make great, relationships with the clients, especially with my dad's clients. I befriended everybody, but strategy, sure, absolutely, right? Sales is a strategy, but also having integrity, being who you are, being yourself. So when I'm actually talking to them, I'm actually not trying to be anybody else. I'm just letting me be who I am. I joke around and I hang out with them and we enjoy our company. And then when we become friends, well, business just becomes so much easier. I have certain rules, right? Certain principles in my life. And I call it MTG, make things good. The first one is goodness. That's the first rule. The second rule is kindness. The third rule is fairness. The fourth rule is loyalty. The fifth rule is hope. And the sixth rule, divine number six, is perseverance. I guess everything that I went through was actually all about that, right? It's about learning all of these principles because of how I was brought up through the teachings of my parents, even my uncles and my aunts, certain uncles and aunts and friends. And then when you're able just to amass all of these lessons in life, right, just to be a better person, wow, it just gives you that confidence, right? That's why I say 0% arrogance, 100% confidence is because you feel good by helping people or doing good or just being kind to people. It just gives you a sense of great fulfillment, but it's self-fulfillment. And that's why I always say that people don't need to know that when you're doing a good deed or whatever it may be, right? But and when you know, that's all that matters, and then you just feel like a better person. So I've been working on that every single day. Am I perfect? Of course not. Far from it. I'll never ever say that. Nor do I ever try to impose any type of principle that I have on anybody. I will show them who I am as a person, and then obviously show them the principles that I have that I've learned in my life, and then the rest is for them, for anybody to decide, right? Everybody. That's the beauty of free will. That's the beauty that we have in this world, right? It's free will to choose your own destiny. For me, I choose to be good. I choose to be kind when I can, how I can, all the time. Whenever
Yeah.
whenever possible. Anyway, sorry, I kind of went
No,
off the story, but going back, so I went to sales. Then I became the best as I could in sales, enough to really prove to my dad that, you know what, yeah, I've worked pretty hard. Perhaps give me a chance to learn again from you, to be directly under him. So, it took a couple of years. It took time. It really took time.
how long did
And
it
then
take? Do you remember?
oh, it took years. It took years. 'Cause, I mean, I'm only a 22-year-old, boy, to be honest, right? Or young man, however you want to say it. And then, it took a long time to learn all of these skills. These skills that you gain from lessons in life. When you learn it, you have to also learn how to practice it, and not practice it by forcing it, but to make it a natural instinct. So from there, I finally got the opportunity. I was just so proud and humble that my dad said, "Okay, you can sit right in front of me in the office." But then I wouldn't say that our relationship was fine and dandy. That still took a little bit of time. But then my dad was strict. My dad was strict. In fact, throughout my life, it was always my mom who was super strict when I was growing up. But then obviously when crunch time came, when it came to the real world in terms of, doing
Important
business,
lessons. Yeah.
right? Yes, more important lessons, that he was tough. And with that being said, um, I appreciate every single lesson that he taught me, because every single lesson that he taught me makes me the person that I am today, you
Yeah.
know? And then from there, obviously the rest is history. So sitting in front of him, seeing what he does every single day, watching him speak to the clients or speak to people, wow, I learned quick. I guess that's why, people always say, right, that genetics is real. That I felt it just in myself. And I'm just saying this as humbly as I can, that I really felt that I had my dad's abilities. In fact, he knew it. He knew it all along, but he just knew that he had to pull it out of me, and I got it. That's why I respect him so much. I respect my mom for her patience as well. That's why parents, what are you gonna say? I mean, they are everybody's world. That's why I respect your parents, love them, and I know everyone does, because I do.
Yeah.
You know, um,
Yeah.
they are part of my life. They are my pillar of strength.
Yeah. And you became you took over eventually the reins of
Yes.
quite a powerful set of companies.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, sorry.
And but I want to say is that with that, with great power came great responsibility. And what we're going to
Absolutely.
get
Yeah.
into and talk about is that when you had all of that, you you decided to do a lot of really good things with it. And one of
Mhm.
those things is where our story will come in. But before we talk about that, do you did you ever feel like when once you earned it and you had, everything you wanted, what made you just decide to not just live that good life and not give back? I mean, like that, because that's a very interesting place in life where someone ultimately decides to give back and really help the greater world, even if they have everything.
Let me talk a little bit about my mom now. So my mom is, I tell you, the most loving, most caring person in the world.
Humanitarian, right? She's quite a humanitarian.
Humanitarian. Oh yes. In fact, she officially has the title Dame, Dame Marikita Salimbangon Yeung. I'm very proud of her that she was able to achieve it, but she deserves it. Throughout her whole life, also from humble beginnings. Born in a small town in Cebu called Corva, Medellin. Humble beginnings, and she was obviously able to uh, live a privileged life. In fact, when they first met, my mom and my dad, they didn't really have much. They were able to build everything together. That's why my dad always calls her lucky charm, and we joke about it until today, but in a really good way. So my mom, again, just with that feeling of being privileged, just right, just like being blessed. I always call it is truly blessed. My mom, ever since when she was blessed, she would bless people. She would always give back. And that's what one of like the most beautiful traits that she has. And that's what I saw, and it's what I learned. So just following by example, if you really want to know the truth, following by example from both of them. So through my mom and through my dad, they help the poor, they everyone, the less fortunate by building bathrooms around, free medical, Operation Smile, which we still work with, we partner with in a huge,
Yeah.
huge aspect, especially here in Cebu. Operation Smile, by the way, is wonderful organization from very good friends of ours, Dr. Bill and Kathy McGee, and they operate on children all around the world that have cleft palate. And it's such a beautiful thing because Operation Smile is exactly what it is. It brings smiles to the children. And then, we all believe, right, that the children are our future. They
Yeah.
are our future. They are the ones that will be the next leaders, the next scientists, the next all the next great people will be through our children. And then for children that are not given equal opportunity, Operation Smile comes in and helps them. It helps them in a big way. So those that actually have the cleft palate, they will obviously have free surgery for them to smile again. And then we have countless cases of those children from less fortunate families who are operated on and who became successful. What a proud feeling that is
Yeah.
for
To change their
not,
life.
not change their life. So it's not even a proud feeling for just the company or even Operation Smile. It is making things good. It's MTGing it, right? That we are, if we can, let's help people. Let's help the less fortunate have a better life. And I mean that for everybody. So to be honest, Matt, like what you're saying, that why do things that is good? The truth is, and I don't want to sound arrogant at all, it's because we can. So those that are blessed that are able to help people,
They
do it.
should. Yeah.
They should. I mean, that's as simple as it is, right? That I always say, we come into this earth with nothing, right? And we leave this first. We leave this earth with nothing, meaning that all of this material things that we have in this world. Yes, I mean, is are things nice? Is it nice to live in a nice house? Absolutely. But with that being said, you don't bring anything when we go, right? When we go to
Yeah.
heaven,
So you
right?
must
When we
give it all
ascend.
back, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? That just make things good while we have the time, our limited time here.
Yeah.
Memento mori, that we all know that we will die at some point. And that's why it's important to realize and understand that life is short. And when life is short, yes, there's so many things to do to be happy and to do all of that. But then for me, I don't only want to just chase happiness. And happiness is important, sure. But sometimes there are more important things, right? Like to do good, to help people, and other things like just how we met. Matt.
Yeah.
I mean, I truly believe that this is also doing good,
Yes.
um, by by identifying, knowledge. Like I told you, knowledge is power. And for those that don't know, well, that's perhaps our job for them to let them know what's really going on with our ancient
Right.
history.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a perfect segue, actually. And
yeah.
I wanted to mention, talked about all the wonderful humanitarian things that your mom and your dad have done and how
Mhm.
it really influenced your life. And so I want to say, to everyone listening to this is that I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now and to be on, just have come back from Turkey and visiting these incredibly important sites if it wasn't for Martin. So Martin truly he walks the walk. He doesn't just talk the talk. He's helped countless people, including me, and he's a very important part of everything that we're doing. So when we say this, we talk about all these archaeologists and geologists and ancient megalithic expert and religious experts that are coming together to be able to make this documentary. A big part of that is because of you, Martin. And of course, that's why I wanted to segue into discussing how you first got into, we won't even call it just ancient civilizations, but how about lost civilizations, ancient, megaliths, and questioning the narrative, and then how that all led to you and I meeting. And then we can talk about some of the incredible experiences we just had a few weeks ago in Turkey.
What you said earlier, Matt, I'm really honored to hear that
Thank you, Martin.
because I feel the same. The feeling is mutual. I always tell you that for me, being able to help people is the same thing as you, Matt, helping people, and you've helped me as well, right? So I call it divinely guided. And I always say I don't ever believe that there is such a thing as coincidence, right?
Yeah.
I believe in destiny. And that's just my own personal thought. Okay, that's the
Of
way that
course.
I see things. That I believe that everything that happens in our life is meant to be. So it's a saying that I really follow and I truly believe. Amor fati, love your fate. When you just know it, that the good or bad, it doesn't matter. Just love it. And the reason being is because just know that just being alive on this world, this beautiful planet, is a privilege. People just don't see it. They don't realize how beautiful it is just to be alive.
Yeah.
So, Matt, I appreciate you, my friend. So, thank you for everything you've also done.
Thank you, Martin. And how did you get into ancient civilizations and then lost civilizations? I mean, like, first of all, people get into ancient stuff. They're saying, that's amazing. That's a fantastic way to look at ancient history, look at all those things. But then you went down the path that, of course, I did and many others listening to this, is when you start to listen to people like Brian Forster or Graham Hancock or,
Mm-hmm.
John Anthony West or all these great
Mm-hmm.
people throughout the last, 10, 15 years who have really talked about and showed the megaliths and the ancient evidence that shows a completely different history that is older and more sophisticated, has divine knowledge lowered. How did that whole path for you get started?
I guess ever since I was young, um, I've always been fascinated with, of course, I guess every young person, or actually everybody in the world, perhaps, will always be fascinated by our history, structures that are around, that have been around for who knows how long, um, how they were built, like places like the pyramid. I've just had a passion, um, curiosity, I guess is probably the best word. Just curious about why there are so many ancient megalithic sites around the world are so similar, yet so far. Like they're all over the world that have very similar type of structures, multi-ton stone blocks that are almost impossible to cut. How were they formed? How were they quarried? All of these questions that didn't fit the current narrative. So it really just kind of gave me more curiosity into this rabbit hole of ancient megalithic sites. So through this passion, I've always really had a great love for this topic, just because it was so profound, and then nobody was really doing much about it. It seemed that there were so few people speaking about it, and I always wondered why. And understanding as well that, of course, the complications when it comes to trying to go against the narrative. But at least for me and for us, it's never our intent to try and fight. It's just to try and show perhaps different ways of thought, of how certain things may be. And that's why, Matt, this is where you kind of come in, right? You really have
Yeah.
this knowledge. And then going on how we met, that's obviously another extremely amazing and profound story. But then one thing for certain before we get there is that, Matt, the reason how we met was because after, imagine, 15 years almost of just studying and learning about this, ancient megalithic sites and ancient civilizations. Um, when I saw your podcast on Alex Ferrera's Next Level Soul podcast, and I heard it, and it just randomly popped up, by the way, which we can talk about
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
And I listened to it clearly, right? And I was actually really kind of like shocked in a sense, but in a good way. I was like, wow, hold on a second. I think this guy actually just figured it out. So can you imagine? So 10 to 15 years, I'm watching everybody, Graham Hancock, Brian Forster,
Yeah.
of course, Paul Wallace, and everybody, all of these guys that are doing this. I mean, John Anthony West, you name it. I've seen them all. I know I missed a couple of names, but all of the big names out there, I've seen all of their videos, and I respect each and every one of them. That is why, of course, Robert Schoch as well, another legend. That is why I'm extremely excited for the things that's to come. Especially with the documentary that we're going to be filming. A
Yeah.
lot of good things happening. A lot of good things happening.
Yeah. So for people, I can fill in we can just tell this part of the story and then we can get into the Turkey trip. I was definitely going through some challenges in my life with being able to even do some of these trips and do some of these things in life that I really wanted to do. Be able to put together the documentary, be able to do a lot of these things that, they take assistance sometimes. They take money, they take different things. And Martin had a vision. He had a vision for leading and believing in what I was trying to do. with the work that I was doing in Turkey with the lake, what I'm calling the Ararat civilization, and this previously undiscovered lost civilization that seems to be at the origins of so much. Martin truly believed in what I was doing and wanted to help. And that really is where a lot of the exciting aspects of my life have really started, is when Martin first sent me that message and we started talking. And it really was like one of those types of snowball effects that led to so many incredible things in my life. And I know, Martin, for you, you were led to me through some kind of random, almost not random, but divine intervention aspects where it kind of popped up at the right moment, where you were these synchronicities of other things were happening. And for me, it's much in the same way. Was on the other end, the receiving end of that, it was a very divine set of different circumstances that led us to each other. But can you talk a little bit about maybe about why you decided to help, and also what we decided to end up doing with all of this?
Yeah, this I guess was perhaps the most profound thing that ever happened in my life, and this now kind of goes into spirituality more. So to give a little bit of context, I was obviously born as a Roman Catholic my whole life, my whole, at least earlier life, in terms of my age. And then as I grew up, I, through, of course, family members, right? Like my aunt was a devout born again Christian, and I was very close to her. I was extremely close to all of her children, which were my cousins. She was actually the elder sister of my mom, who unfortunately passed away. And we miss her a lot, of course, until today. We think about her. But it was through her and the family that really put me into this born again Christian path. And I've been a born again Christian for pretty much my entire life ever since. However, to be honest, there were times where I did start to question a little bit, right? Not question my faith per se, that I've always known that God is real. I've always known that. I mean, just because of perhaps maybe certain things that happened in my life, that I believe that there was a God, because every time that I would, even have like small troubles here or there, even when I was young, and I'd pray and God would always answer my prayers. So that's one of like the biggest foundations of my faith, that I believe that God is real. Now, obviously, going through the the knowledge seeking of ancient megalithic sites and ancient civilizations, it also brings back the question of also perhaps what was their religion. You see, one thing that I do believe though is our history goes way further back than most people know or most people think. And with that being said, what did people believe back then? Right? That's why all over the world there's different religions around the world that have different practices and different traditions, and they believe in God. And then if you go even further back by uncovering these ancient sites, you will see that there was always places of worship, meaning that ever since perhaps the beginning of humanity, at least at a certain point, that we were always worshiping something, right? The celestial beings, the
Something
sky
higher. Yeah.
people, God,
Yeah.
something higher. Absolutely. So my belief, to be honest, is that, you know, all religions, it's my humble theory, just the way I believe. Again, I just want to make a disclaimer that it's just my own personal belief. If you ask me, what do I really believe in? I always call myself a man of all religions, to be honest, right? I respect every religion equally. It's like, you see, being from Asia, there's so many different beliefs here as well. And to be a born again Christian, identified as a born again Christian, right? That's a whole different belief. But then when I see the Chinese belief, when they worship the Chinese gods, I also believe that their God is real. It is true because of the ancient history in China. So I believe it as well. When I go to India, when I used to work there, I used to go there very frequently, and I see all their traditions, and I see the faith that they have. Oh, I felt it. It is genuine. It is genuine faith that I believe also that, excuse me, by the way, I also believe that whatever they believe is real. So my theory is that God and all religions are actually the same. That's just my own humble theory. And that's why I respect all religions equally. That that there is no religion better than any other religion. Because if you would think that, then that would sort of kind of make things complicated. And that's why perhaps it's us making things complicated when things, perhaps life is actually quite simple. It's just
Yeah.
by being good. Now, can you imagine that every religion, they always teach goodness? So if most religions, all if not all, again, I'm not an expert in any by any means in this field, by the way. So I'll apologize if I actually say anything wrong. I'm not an expert in religion. I'm also not an expert in ancient civilizations nor ancient megalithic sites. I'm just really just more of a fan, really. Someone that just has a passion. By no means are any of my words quoting anybody. It's just my own personal belief. And that's how it's easier for me also to do good and to be good, is because I don't judge. I never judge, because we all know that God doesn't judge. So if God doesn't judge, who are we to judge? If that makes sense, Matt, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I say equal but not made equal. So through that, I had the craziest experience. It was such a profound experience, but an experience in which I am humbled, and I'm so privileged to have gone through it. And it happened recently, just recently in December, believe it or not. So before that, just to give again a little bit more context, is I have to kind of honestly say that I did feel a little bit of, I lost my faith in, I guess, I don't know how to put it, right? Not in religion itself, but more so I was confused by all of the conflicting things that religions were causing, right? With the wars and the battles. And I was thinking, that how can it be, right? If God is always good, why are certain things this way, right? Why can't the world be a better place? Why are there so many evil people out there? Of course, I say that without sounding naive. Of course, we know humanity is humanity, right? Survival of the fittest, Darwin's theory. Of course, it's real. That's why in this world, to make it, you have to work hard. You got to work hard, because nothing comes easy in this world. That's one thing that is true. That's why, Matt, it's the struggles that you had. It just shows the complexities of life, that that sometimes life isn't fair, and when it's not fair, it kind of motivates me more, that if I'm living a privileged life, I want to help more people, right, to achieve whatever that they have, that their goals, their dreams, right? Especially when I know that someone has good intention, they have a good heart, and that they really believe passionately about something, and not just because of the monetary value behind it, but more so because that they can actually do good to make a change in this world. I respect those people. And to do good, by the way, doesn't mean how much you give. It's the same thing. It's all relative. So if someone is doing a small gesture with a certain amount, and someone doing the same gesture with a bigger amount, it doesn't mean that the richer person is actually a better person or a nicer person. They're both equally good. Anyhow, so
Yeah.
on December, it's going to be a little bit strange for a lot of people. But to make the long story short, I had a visitation. Believe it or not, I had a profound visitation, and I call it a divine angelic visitation. And to be honest, right, at that point in my life, I didn't believe in ghosts. I didn't believe in spirits so much. I believe in angels, sure, of course, or just because of the knowledge that I've had. And I've always believed I always had a guardian angel, because I've had so many cases in my life growing up in which I felt that I was protected, that certain things that should have happened, that could have happened, that could have potentially
Yeah.
been really bad
Because
for
you had
me,
a
right? Even,
destiny. Yeah.
even, yeah. And eventually what happened was, it's hard to explain. I guess I kind of went into like a trance-like state. I was just in my room. This was around 9 p.m. at night. I just got into a trance-like state. I didn't understand what I was feeling. It was the most profound feeling that I've ever felt in my life. That I was in my bed. I I sort of lost control in a sense. Like I didn't have control, but I did have control, right? But I was just kind of, I was so curious about it. I wasn't afraid, because I didn't feel any type of bad energy. It was good. It was kind. It was warm. So I kind of went with the flow. I was like, okay, what in the world is going on? And at a certain point in when it happened, I was like, wait a second, am I being abducted right now? Or I felt literally like that. It felt like I was kind of going into some type of different dimension. 9 o'clock, I was just by myself in the room on my bed. And that was the first visitation. And then I felt that there was someone kind of speaking to me, but I don't truly remember exactly what was said. In fact, believe it or not, I even tried to record it because I already knew it was so profound. But I had that's why I mean that I had control, but not control. I still remember grabbing my phone and getting the voice notes, and I tried to record what I was saying, just so at least I can review it the next day. And lo and behold, you wouldn't believe it. So when it stopped, I was like, it was so profound. I was like, what in the world just happened, right? And I tried to play the recording, and it was there. It was a 2 minute or 3 minute recording, but then it was blocked. That there was no volume. That was really odd. I was like, how does it make a mistake? So I tried to send it to friends and say, can you guys, like, is it a bug or something? And they said, no, you didn't actually record. You recorded it. You can even see it on the voice memo, but then there was nothing there. Anyway, so I didn't really think much of it. I was like, okay, maybe it's just one of those, things that happens, right? So I just brushed it off, and I just lived life normally. Okay. And then I guess maybe 2 weeks or so, or maybe 10 days afterwards, it happened again, and it was crazier the next time. So I got into this trance. It was like, I guess the feeling was kind of like, it's almost like an out of body experience, but not really. Like, it's not that I saw myself. I just felt as if I was kind of floating. It was actually pretty cool, to be honest. So all of a sudden, I wasn't obviously it wasn't as shocking for the second time. So I kind of just calmed myself, right? And just kind of went with the flow. And then I felt the presence. I really felt it this time, and it was actually a female presence. I just knew it. I can't explain it, but I just knew it was female presence. And then for some reason, I had my eyes closed, and I was seeing like these orbs like flying. I just in my mind, not actually physically seeing them because my eyes were closed. I know they were closed because I closed them because I was just kind of going with the moment. And all of a sudden, like when I opened my eyes, I just because my room, I have a loft. I have a second floor in my bedroom where my computer is. And then I just kind of looked up, and I was just like, what in the world is that? And I saw a being of light, one. Um, it was a woman presence, and it felt like, it looked like an angel, really. It looked like a woman, with her hands open wide, something like that. And then she had, I wouldn't say that she was like a physical woman, but it was in the shape of one. At least that's how I saw it and how I felt it. I felt the presence. It was so powerful. And again, for those that don't know me, yeah, this sounds crazy, but for those that do know me, they know me as a person that really has my head on my shoulders, right?
Yeah.
The one who's using common sense and logic. In fact, I'm probably one of the hardest people to get a point across, especially if it's a new topic, because I'll always ask questions. I'll always try to find out, like, study everything. So when it happened, when I saw it, I knew that there was something different. I knew that it was just, it was a divine moment. It was truly a divine moment. And the instinct, the first thing that came to my mind is it was an angel. That's the only thing I can say. It was an angel that came to me. And then they spoke to me without speaking to me. It's like telepathically. It's as crazy as that sounds, right?
What did they
And I
say?
know they said that, I was chosen to do something. I
Yeah.
was chosen to do something, and it was to reveal them, to reveal them. It's just like that. That's the
Yeah.
only thing they
I
said.
think I
That
think
it
that's
was chosen
profound.
to.
Yeah.
I was Yeah, I was chosen to reveal them. That's it. And then after that experience, when I saw the being, by the way, um, there was one initially, and then more showed up, and it actually ended up being like six different, light beings of light. That was the most beautiful thing that I've seen. That they even had sort of like wings, and the wings were like, they had like a peacock type color. It was what a beautiful thing that I've seen. I can still remember it vividly until today. Actually, I actually always kind of see it. They still visit me all the time, and I'm always humbled and I'm honored when they do come, because I feel that I'm always visited by angels. And of course, what do? We worship, we pray to them, right? We give thanks to them, in every religion. So whatever it may be, angels is perhaps just one name of what they are. That's
Yeah.
why when I say I respect all religion, I believe God is just one of the names. God has multiple names. It could be anything from, from Zeus to Allah, Jesus, Vishnu, Magda, Horus. It doesn't matter. Everybody, every single entity that's always been around throughout our history, my understanding is they're all the same God. That's why I call myself a man of all religions, right?
Yeah.
So after that, can you imagine? So it just happened. And I was literally like just completely dumbfounded by that experience. And I was like, okay, I know what just happened. It was obviously real. Um, to reveal them, what in the world does that mean? So I had no idea what to do and how to start or even where to start, right? It was just that profound and that crazy. Then ultimately, I guess again with the natural skill set that I was taught from my father, and of course perhaps genetically gifted with common sense, right? Again, it's really important because at the end of this world, at the end of the day, to navigate in this world, truly is really mostly about common sense, right? And a lot of people say that common sense is uncommon, but then I just mean that more of it as a joke. But then the truth is, I just started to think, okay, where am I going to start? And it just so happens that I was fortunately enough to watch certain podcasts, and I was able to kind of link things together, right? That where I've seen podcasts of people whom had the same similar experience. One of them was actually Chris Bledsoe. In fact, certain things that he caught on his camera, and the things that he's seen, I see it. Actually, I've seen it a lot. But anyhow, I tried to contact him, but it was obviously, it's one of those things where you just can't contact people through Instagram. And then it kind of came, then I kind of it came across then to your podcast, the Next Level Soul podcast that
Yeah.
popped up randomly. And at this point, by the way, Matt, I've never seen any spiritual, podcast, or even I didn't even know anything about the spiritual realm, to be honest. I'm a total newbie, prior to December. I had no idea of what world was out there. And anyhow, um, when your podcast just randomly popped up, I was actually in the gym and it popped up. I was like, okay, it's interesting. And I just played it and I started listening to it. And that's where I had that, eureka moment. It was just one of those like eureka moments. Like when I heard you, I was really like more interested. I was like, whoa, this guy, there's something going, something up here, right? And then when I started listening to it more until the end, I was like, this is it. This is the guy, right? It's the guy that I need to contact. But then I wasn't sure I was able to even reach you, right? Just because we all know that Instagram, no one really answers, right? I mean, you probably have like thousands of messages from thousands of people just in general. So, and then you mentioned about your documentary. So instead of really, I don't know if I contacted you through Instagram, but I know through your website, I was just like,
Yeah, you
I
emailed me. Yeah.
appreciate this guy and I appreciate what he's doing. Yeah. And I believed in what he's doing. So I just said, you know what? Here's just a little donation. And I wish you all the best. I really wish that, great success for what you do, because I really truly believe in what you do. And I said, if there's anything that I can help, and I don't even know if you'll get this email, hit me up. And the rest is history. Matt,
Yeah.
basically from there, you replied to me the next day. We got over the phone, and truly the rest is history. Divinely
Yeah.
guided,
Yeah.
as I
That's
always say.
That's a
So
that's a beautiful
thank you for
story, and
that.
I
Yeah.
just want to add that, in all the work that I do and people that listen to what I discuss with the ancient Anuna and what they are, and this whole concept of our reality and what exists around us and the intelligence that's involved in the celestial intelligence and where all this knowledge came from, why so many people throughout history have had experiences with either something helping them or ideas coming through or even out of body experiences where I've
Yeah.
certainly had them as well, is that
Mm.
really, as fantastic as that sounds, we have to understand that we live in an incredibly complex reality that has a lot more going on than we've necessarily been taught or told. And the complexities of our reality go into something where we're clearly part of a greater story, something that's
Yeah.
being managed, something that's being watched and guided over for both
That's right.
Earth as well as the humanity, our story, and what we have to achieve. And I think it's pretty profound if you have these experiences in life, whoever's listening to this, where you have these moments that you just can't you can't logically figure out. It doesn't make any sense. It's something happened. Something you're saying like, wow, I was just thinking about that. And then it just happened right after that. It gets your attention. And then more and more of those things happen. You start to realize that our reality certainly has a lot more going on with these, like you said, like almost angelic like and demon like beings. I think that they
Mhm.
both is one and the same, or playing different roles here in our
Yeah.
reality.
Mhm.
And that set of experiences that Martin had, he had never had in his life. And it happened at a very key moment that then led him to finding me and then communicating with me at the same time that I needed him. It was actually quite a profound set of divine experiences that led to all of this. But people are going to want to hear about Turkey, and I want to segue into that and discuss what we ended up doing. But Martin ended up becoming a board member on Ionis Legacy, and he joined the team with me, and we talked weekly, sometimes even just every couple days, to really formulate a plan for all of the people that have helped on here, as well as his contributions and help to make this documentary possible. Because it's not easy. We're not going with outside investors that have, certain kinds of thinking on what they want the story to evolve or show. We have our own flexibility, especially because of Martin, to be able to tell the story in the right way, to be able to visit what's going to be 5 countries. We've already gone to one. Well, two if you count the scouting trip, but in terms of filming, we've already filmed one location, and we just got back just recently in May. We just got back from visiting the Lake Von region of Chavus Tepe and Ionis and Kef Temple, and all these incredible areas around Lake Von. But that was the beginning of us scouting to be able to do the full filming with additional experts, archaeologists and geologists and
Right.
megalithic experts to join in an expedition that is the first of its kind, to go with all of these experts in every field to these important places that have megalithic ancient connections and symbols that go back to the very beginning, where we believe maybe the origins of everything. And by doing
Right.
that, we're going to be laying out and exposing an older, much more ancient history, and asking the question of whether or not the human civilization story is far older and has entire sagas and epics that we've forgotten that are part of us, that has to do with not a primitive side of what we once were, but a very divine, sophisticated side that, if anything, we've mostly forgotten. And so when Martin contacted me, one of the things that we spent a lot of time doing was exploring, and me going over and teaching him, and also just discussing the spiritual world, the spiritual realms, and what it means to be a multidimensional being here, and what it is to meditate. Where do you go into without a body experience as meditation? What is the physical reality versus the non-physical reality? At what point, as Martin says, does the old world kind of merge or clash with the new world? This idea of the old world being more of the spiritual, metaphysical world, and the new world being more of logic and more materialism and the things that run our world. It's very interesting if you merge those two together. And that was something that, Martin and I spent a lot of time and really became quite good friends and colleagues in this. And Martin, I wanted to talk a little bit about our trip, because we had you had never been to these sites, neither had I, and we had studied them and really explored these mysteries. And going there, I know for me, was a very profound set of experiences. Do you want to talk a little bit about especially Ionis, but also Kef Temple, and maybe we could go in order. I guess let's start with Ionis, and what that experience was like, and going to a place like that.
What can I say? It was the journey of a lifetime. That's why I'm so thankful to you, Matt, for even, well, firstly, for finding out such, incredible information, right? And of course, also preparing this expedition and getting the people involved. So I appreciate you, my friend.
I
Really,
appreciate you too. Thank
it
you.
was really such a magical experience to be in Turkey, to be honest. And it's an experience I think that none of us will remember, will forget.
No.
We'll always remember it, right? Because of just the divine experiences that we've had there, the fellowship, of good company and good friends, and of course the experiences that we've had there, and that we can take back and share with the world, which is truly it's truly amazing. It's such a beautiful experience, and
Yeah.
I can't wait for more people to learn more and to go there and see it for themselves. Anyhow, yes, Ayanis. I mean, where do I begin, right? It was really just magic from the beginning, right? Even from the museum, I mean, even just to see you, Matt, talking and seeing these ancient artifacts, to see your enthusiasm and to know so much knowledge about that, I was really impressed. You're just
Thank
walking
you.
around, you know everything. So we're just kind of like following you around, learning as we go. Um, but one of the most incredible things there, of course, was firstly to see the replicas, right? Especially of the altar of Haldi. The replica, even though it's a very, very good copy, um, it gave us the sense of what to expect. It was kind of like a trailer, which I really, really appreciate. That's why, you're a genius for really starting there, man. I mean, good job. I mean, for me, I'm just kind of like the movie goer, right? I'm just a guy with popcorn, you know what I'm saying? But then seeing everything, firsthand, what an experience, right? To learn about it. And that's what made everything much more fulfilling, is
Yeah.
learning the things that we were prepared to see on the actual site. That was incredible, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, from the altar and also the ascension pillar, they had one of them,
The
those
Shabu Steppe. Yeah.
that was Tepe, and then miraculously finding them naturally in their own habitat, untouched. You know, that was what a profound but incredible thing to find and discover.
Yeah.
So I guess how can I say? That's why I call you the modern day Indiana Jones, man. You really are.
Thank you, Barton.
It really is. It really is that case, because we're going to the places where I guess most people don't really go and visit.
No.
It's not the usual places that most tourists will go. And Turkey, what a beautiful country it is. I mean, I love that place. I can't wait to go back. The people are friendly. The food is fantastic. I mean, even the infrastructure, even at the far off places, is excellent. So they're definitely doing a good job there. My hats off to the Turkey government to really experience everything. It was like a journey, and I've always kind of asked myself, right, that through the, I guess, divine mission that they gave me, which is such a humbling mission to have, because it doesn't affect anything in terms of my business, right? It just more kind of really allows me to um, go to another direction in terms of my passion. It allows me to really fulfill that curiosity, which is perhaps one of the most, it's the greatest gift. And I'm so fortunate to be able to be part of your team, to be part of this team, this group of people, and then for all the future expeditions to come, because everything ties with everything that I'm doing, right? That's why I say business for me is doing really, really well. Everything is going perfectly, which allows me also more opportunity to delve into different things that can make things good.
Yeah.
No matter what it is that we do in this world, as long as it has a purpose with good intention, oh, by all means, I'm going to be part of it, right?
Yeah.
So my journey to all these places was really just like a dream come true, where we're traveling, far off places, going to sites that most people have never been, seeing structures that is, to see it on camera and to see it on YouTube or on Netflix, it's an experience to learn. It's really like, wow, it's incredible. Like, this is insane. But to be there and to feel it, that's a whole nother level, right? Because when you're there, we understand why all these ancient sites, they're literally strategically built in certain locations where I guess there has to be some type of energy force, right, that perhaps enhances the reason why that certain temples or certain things would be there in the first place,
Yes.
strategically done, that can match even the constellations, right? Mathematics, the universal language of the universe, it is true. And entering all of these places, you have this sense of energy. You feel it. It is a profound energy that you can't explain it. You can only know when you go there, because even I had no idea. I knew about the theory, about the energies and certain things, where I hear about this all the time. But to be there firsthand and to feel it, touching the stones, these ancient altars and these ancient things, while it's magnetic. You feel it go through your body, and it's such a profound feeling. Because again, it's for someone like me who has never really been into this path, and only until in December. Um, so this journey was such an eye-opening experience for me, Matt. to really be able to live it. And I know now why I was led to go there in the first place, right? It was to see, I guess, ground zero. Now we're talking about Ayanis, to be in the holiest of places in the world, the place that you found, of course, through the genius archaeologist Mehmet, who actually was the one who discovered it. But then for you, Matt, to really connect the dots, what a genius find, my friend.
Thank you.
Hats off, because when I went there, as you know, we had such an incredible experience, a divine experience, if you want to put it that way, because
Yeah.
it truly was a divine experience, and I didn't expect um what happened. Well, okay, I guess to be honest, I did kind of expect it, because throughout the journey, I started understanding more of my role. I started to understand more, at least about the phenomenon that is God. And God is good. God is good for all those that are, are curious about the question of God. God is good. So all thanks, all glory goes to God, always has been for me and always will be.
Yeah.
And I guess every destination was perfect. Every destination was an experience, but I guess really the most divine and most profound and most magical yet beautiful experience was at Ayana's temple. So again, a big shout out to all the people that were able to make it happen. Of course, Saba, a great friend of ours. Um, we were able to, for our own personal journey, able to experience, I guess, being in the presence of God. And I guess that's why when I went there, people ask me, so what is that you went there for? And it was just simply just to give thanks for all the blessings that I have in my life. I'm just thankful and grateful. So it made sense for me to go to the holiest of the holy places, the ground zero temple, to give them the full respect. That's why, both of us, man, we took off our shoes and our socks.
Yeah.
Uh, just we had to give them, like, we had to give them the respect that they deserve. So you went there, and then we just gave thanks. What can I say? It was such
Yeah.
a beautiful, magical moment, and the experiences that we had, we will cherish it forever. Matt, you and I, the
Yeah.
vision, I said, vision come true. The
Yeah.
dream or vision that you had, that we were there in the temple together, and you looked at me on your left and I was there. It happened, and then also our experiences there. It was just beautiful. And I'll always be forever grateful to you, Matt, for actually allowing that to happen and to guide me through it. And with all the people that actually guided me through this, all of, family, um, you know, everybody. I mean, even my parents, my parents whom are, again, devout religious Catholics, right? Christians, right? And I told them before I left, before I embarked on this journey, I told them everything. And then, most people would be like, oh, your parents would never believe it. Um, at least to my knowledge, is how I thought. I guess that was really part of the fear and the doubt, which I really did lose. Before, when I first experienced this, I was like, man, people are going to think I'm crazy when I tell them that. But then, to make the long story short, it's because of people that knew me, that know me of the man that I am, the person that I am, they had no doubt. And then the best part of it all was with my parents. I was there with them at their place for an hour, just telling them about my experience and why I had to go. And then they gave me full 100% blessing. They believed it. So I'm thankful for that. So you see, where I say I'm blessed, I mean, I'm just divinely blessed, and I'm always thankful to God, for allowing all of this to happen in my life, and so also to have the support that I've always had. It's literally a dream come true.
And Martin and I got a chance. And by the way, Ionis is still not a public site. It's still being excavated. We were very lucky to get access in there, and thank you to all involved, including especially Saba, for allowing us access to such an important place. Now, you haven't seen any footage from in the inner sanctum of Ionis because we weren't allowed to film in there yet. That will hopefully change next time we go as part of the larger documentary, which is going to be in August as well as October in two parts. We're going to be traveling to visit Turkey and Menorca, Spain, and then the second part will be Peru and Bolivia, joined by some pretty amazing experts, including Brian Forster down in Peru and Bolivia. But I want to just touch on Ionis for a minute. Martin and I got a chance, as we said, we took our shoes off and walked in, and we're we were respectful to that incredibly important holy site, like Martin said. And one of the first things I want to mention is that we got a chance to put our hands on the altar, just to touch it. And it honestly, it's like a very, very powerful experience to be able to do that. And just the energy that is there is unlike any ancient site or place that I've been in. It was definitely something calling from a long ago time. And Martin and I both did a little meditation in there and had experiences of our own that were very, very interesting. I will save that for another day to express that, but it certainly was a powerful experience of almost like a remembrance and of what once was at Ionis and what will be again in the future. And so that experience, hiking up into Kef Temple, I'll never forget, Martin. What an
Mm,
adventure going up in the mountains like that,
amazing. Yeah.
driving up and then hiking into those incredible megaliths. And of course, you mentioned Chavus Tepe. We first had gone to the museum and we saw this giant pillar that I'm calling an ascension pillar because it doesn't have a name, which has not been identified and really shown as being important by archaeologists yet, but that will change in the future. Now, Von Museum had only one of those artifacts. It's a basalt artifact that is maybe 3, 4 feet tall, very large, very heavy, which is why they're still there, thankfully. But when we went to Chavus Tepe, we were able to find 7 others that are at the site still. And to have that moment of seeing truly these megalithic important artifacts that is a motif and a symbol of the civilizations that is all over the Kef box relief and is shown around the world, like Göbekli Tepe and Menorca, Spain, these T pillars that, of course, is going to be a big part of the documentary and uncovering the secrets of these civilizations and the symbols they left behind. But again, Martin, I want to show my thanks for allowing those experiences to even be possible, to share, seeing them and being a part of them, and knowing exactly when we go back with more experts to be able to document it and film this for the world, because the world needs to see this lost history that has not been acknowledged or shown in a way like this before, with experts from around the world coming together to show these sites in a chronological order of how they may be connected long ago with the same symbols, the same megalithic stonework building, as well as the legacy of what they left behind. And that is what we're investigating. And Martin truly believes in me and the greater mission of what we're doing. When we say the Ionis team, and you just saw, we just had a new archaeologist, Hans Orheim, join, and we have others as well that are joining this, is that we're creating a dream team, a team of the greatest experts that can come together to finally change an old narrative that's very antiquated and outdated about us understanding where we came from, not primitive origins, but something divine and beautiful, like showing the symbols of Haldi with celestial, passing something celestial to us, knowledge of us being able to achieve these higher states, and it being woven into the triptych doorways around the world, and even Da Vinci's Last Supper painting. There's a mystery we're exploring here. There's a mystery that goes into the deepest origins of our past and who we are. And that would not be possible without all of your wonderful contributions online, as well as Martin being just such an important key player in this. And I just want to say, Martin, when we wrap up here, is that we are about to embark not only on going back to Turkey and having Menorca and Peru and Bolivia, but Martin wants to be a part of a lot of other future expeditions as well, keeping this core team to go investigate places like Madain Saleh in Saudi Arabia and Angkor Thom in Cambodia and throughout northern India and places like Petra, Jordan and Baalbek, Lebanon and Easter Island and all these locations that have megalithic lost civilization evidence that's part of a story and a narrative. And we're going to be going and showing that entire narrative to the world and helping really shine a light on that, the knowledge of what they were trying to pass so that we could understand all that we lost since then. And so I commend you, Martin, for all that you're doing, not only for humanity, but for me and this entire expedition and this documentary. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for that.
The feeling is mutual, Matt. The feeling is truly mutual. Again, I wouldn't be able to experience all of this if it wasn't for you. So thank you very much for that, And that's why uh, I always say, divinely guided, my friend. You know, we be like water, we go with the flow. When we have God with us, I tell you, you really feel invincible. You feel good. And that's why faith is real, everybody. You know, believe
Yeah.
it. It is real. And when you know the discoveries that we'll be making in the future, you will really see the science behind it, the connections of how Matt will be able to connect the dots. And then when you're able to see it, it will change your perspective completely. And I really can't wait for it. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited. I can't tell you how much we have left to come. We've just
Mhm.
begun all of this incredible work. We're formulating such an important team. And I guess we can also announce that Martin is part of helping me, as well as Paul Wallace, and maybe even working with Saba to create our own tours in around Lake Vaughan at these sites like Ionis, Chavos Tepe, and Kef, and others, to have these profound experiences that we can lead there, with even potentially having archaeologists and others as part of a tour unlike anything you've ever heard of, something deep that goes in on adventures, that goes to these places to actually experience, just like what Martin was saying, this kind of divine experiences. So look for that. Two tours in 2025 that we're going to be setting up probably May or June, and then probably somewhere like August and September. So stay tuned for more on that. And I also just want to say is look forward to everything that's to come. We still need all the support we can for this documentary. It's huge. What we're taking on is massive. And I appreciate everyone that's standing by the team and standing by the mission and what we're doing here to finally change the old narrative history and illuminate our lost past. So, Martin, I just want to say thank you to one more time to you. And if there's anything you want to give a shout out for, or anything that you're doing in the near future, or what your your company website or anything before we say goodbye.
Oh, well, firstly, again, thanks, Matt. It's really been a privilege and honor to be here. This is actually my first podcast. So, you know, we kind of made history, especially with you. So I'm actually happy about that.
Me too.
A shout out, just a quick shout out, just to all of my family and friends for the support. And just remember, perhaps one little thing, these three small letters, well, capital MTG, make things good, right? Just be good, be kind, be fair, be loyal, have hope, and persevere, right? When you have these principles, it guides you through life to make life a little bit easier. And I hope it'll help you in any way it can. And of course, a big shout out to Operation Smile. We're actually going to be opening the biggest Operation Smile Center outside of the US, and it's actually going to be here in Cebu. We'll be opening a free clinic for all children within the vicinity and anywhere else that wants to come for a free surgery. It will be open later this year, so I'm extremely proud about that, and I can't wait to help more children. You know, have put smiles on their faces. So yeah, Matt, that's basically it. Thanks very
Wonderful.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. And thank you, Martin, for joining me. And this is really wonderful to hear your story, and have people understand how important you are to the IONS team, and as well as to me and the company. So thank you for everything you do. And I want to say thank you to everyone listening to this, that supports me and supports the mission of what we're doing. And thank you, Martin. And until next time, guys, we'll talk to you soon.
All the best. Take care. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Martin.
Take care.